And then on the facial recognition side, if you have the underrepresentation of certain populations, it could be people with darker skin, it could be children for good reason, we don't want their faces in those data sets, then when they're used in the real world, you have several risks. One is misidentification, right? What we saw with Robert Williams' case. But even if these systems were perfectly accurate, now we have to ask, do we want the face to be the last frontier of privacy? Because we're then creating a surveillance state apparatus.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Nermeen Sheikh.
Joy, if you could just explain, how is it that AI has these kinds of biases? Because, of course, AI can only reflect what already exists. It's not coming up with something itself. So who are the programmers? How is it that these biases, as you say, not just on race, although particularly on race, but also gender and other issues, how are they embedded within AI systems?
Well, the AI systems that we are seeing on the rise are increasingly pattern recognition systems. And so to teach a machine how to recognize a face or how to produce human-like text, like we're seeing with some of the large language models, what you have are large data sets of examples. Here's a face, here's a sentence, here's a whole book, right? And based on that, you have these systems that can begin to learn different patterns. But if the data itself is biased, or if it contains stereotypes, or if it has toxic content, what you're going to learn is the good, the bad, and the ugly as well when it comes to large language models, for example. And then on the facial recognition side, if you have the underrepresentation of certain populations, it could be people with darker skin, it could be children for good reason, we don't want their faces in those data sets, then when they're used in the real world, you have several risks. One is misidentification, right? What we saw with Robert Williams' case. But even if these systems were perfectly accurate, now we have to ask, do we want the face to be the last frontier of privacy? Because we're then creating a surveillance state apparatus.
Dr. Buolamwini, can you talk about the project of Algorithmic Justice League that was just launched called a TSA Checkpoint Scorecard, fly.ajl.org, and how people can share their experiences dealing with a new facial recognition program that's being used at several airports across the country?
Absolutely. So the TSA is starting to roll out facial recognition at domestic checkpoints. They're now at 25 airports. And this is concerning because the United States needs to start leading on biometric rights. Just last week, we had EU lawmakers push forward the EU AI Act, which explicitly bans the use of biometric technologies like facial recognition in public spaces, the live use of this technology. We are flying in exactly the opposite direction, where people don't even know, right, that they have a choice to opt out. And so what we're doing with the Algorithmic Justice League is we've released the scorecard. So if you have traveled this summer, if you're traveling this summer, please share your experience so we understand, did you give consent? What was your experience if you try to opt out? That the technology work for you? I also think that this is a great opportunity for the US government to put into place the blueprint for a Bill of Rights for AI. And so this blueprint came out last year, and it highlights so many of the issues that we've been talking about, which is the need for notice, and we need consent as well, but also we need protections from algorithmic discrimination. We need to know that these systems are safe and effective. We need data privacy so that you can't just snatch people's faces, right? And we need human fallbacks as well. So I think it's a great opportunity for the Biden administration to make true on their promise to make what was put in the blueprint binding through the Office of Management and Budget, and then to push to make the blueprint federal law.
If a Bill of Rights is put in place with the stipulations that you outlined, do you see any benefits of artificial intelligence?
Oh, absolutely. So if we can have ethical AI systems that do help us, for example, with medical breakthroughs, I think that is something that is worth developing. So I am not opposed to beneficial uses of AI, but we don't have to build it in a harmful way. We can enjoy the promise while mitigating the perils.
Can't nobody stop. Everyone turn on your facial recognition block. We're here to make a plan. Can't nobody stop.